Hi class, my name is Meghan Easdon and this is my teaching learning interaction for FAML 445, and this is our second teaching interaction, and I just want to share some of my standout ideas about teaching. I thought that some important things were the idea about using various media outlets. For me, for my lesson plans, I have different YouTube videos included to show different behaviorisms in kids. I have some stories that give background information or examples. I'm going to use different pamphlets. I also think that the idea of an interactive group discussion is important, and one thing that I had idea was to get people involved was candy for answers. And maybe that just comes from teaching Sunday school with teenagers, and the idea that getting them involved with an incentive. And then the idea that others learn from personal narratives. Even though I'm doing it on a topic that's not related to, I guess I haven't experienced these things, and I'm taking this all from secondhand knowledge. I'm not using any firsthand experience with this. I guess I chose my topic because I was apprehensive about using my own personal stories. I could have done something about domestic violence, but at this point in my FLE experience, I was a little bit nervous about doing that. Maybe if I get a couple more lessons under my belt, I'd be more likely to do that. I think that something I'd like to do would be to improve the use of personal narratives in my lessons. I think things that you could do to improve that are using pictures and props and different background information when is necessary, when I have stories that are applicable to the learning experiences that I'm sharing. And then the question that I wanted to answer was, why do family life educators need to be sensitive to differences that may exist within individuals and families? Many of us come from different backgrounds, whether it be religious, cultural, different backstories. I might have somebody in my class that is experiencing domestic violence versus somebody in my class who's not. There may be somebody in our class who's a single parent versus a typical nuclear family. All of us have memberships in a variety of different groups based on our gender, race, religious beliefs, income, and education levels. And then as family life educators, it's important for us to keep that in mind as we're going through these lessons and our workshops or our family relationships studies. And then something that came up in this period's lessons was inviting the spirit. It depends on where sorry, I was reading through my notes. It depends on where you're offering your workshop. For me, I am offering it among members of the church. I'm offering it among Relief Society sisters, my family, various people that I think could use it, but most of them are going to be members. And it's likely that I could invite the spirit and we could start out our family life education lesson with a prayer, and that would be an appropriate setting to do it within. But when I entered into my, when I finally graduate and get my degree and enter into the county where I'm hoping to start family life education, it's going to be harder to invite the spirit. So I think another way that we can do this as family life educators is that in our personal preparation, we can invite the spirit on our own, and we can say a prayer and say a prayer as we're preparing, say a prayer before we go in, say a prayer just before people start coming. But prepare yourself spiritually and mentally for what you're about to teach, and to teach in hopes that it's in line with what Heavenly Father is wanting us to teach. And then I wanted to talk about the need to maintain balance between teacher, leader, talking with participants talking. I think this is where the group discussions that I have in my lesson plans come into place. I am the type of person that learns more from people sharing their personal experiences or sharing, I've done this and this worked, and I've done this and this didn't work. I think that group discussions facilitate that. And for me in my lesson plans, yes, I want to present them with information that's useful, that they can take home, that they can use. But I also want them to hear from others what has worked and what hasn't when they have dealt with those particular incidents. I think we learn a lot from where others succeeded and where they haven't. And I just want to really concentrate on being a facilitator, offering them information, and then them discussing that information. And how can I apply this to myself? How can we apply this to this group? What am I missing? What do you need from me? What more information do you need? And then other instructional principles to be implemented. I think that it's important as a family life educator to draw in on that existing knowledge. That's something that really struck to me when I was doing the reading. Activating existing knowledge. It's the foundation of new knowledge. Somewhere back in our mind, a lot of us have, I've already done that. I know that works. Why haven't I been doing that? So I think sometimes people just need a refresher, and sometimes in family life education, that's really what we're doing. We're being the facilitators of that information. That's a refresher of what they've already been doing, but maybe that they've forgotten to keep doing. And for me in my lessons, I want to invite parents to talk about times when they have overcome struggles with their children. I want them to tell how they did it. What outside resources did you use? I want them to talk about, did you follow the example of someone else? Did anyone else give you advice? And if so, who? I think just activating that existing knowledge is a super important instructional principle. And then I think as a family life educator, something else in this section that hit home for me was that we really need to build rapport with those that we're having a family life education workshop with. We need to share our background information, and it might not necessarily apply to what you're teaching, but it also reminds them that you're human, that you've had your own struggles, that maybe you haven't experienced anything with this, but you've had experience with this. And it's just a reminder that you're not just some person standing up there spouting off a ton of information at them that doesn't really understand where they're coming from. And then talk about why it's important or why you chose this topic. For me, my kids are young. Yes, I have behavioral issues with them, but I've also worked in the school systems. And with my lesson, I'm concentrating on behavior issues with children, and more in particular with a child who seems to be just acting out. And I've seen that in the school systems, and it's important to me because I wanted to know, okay, what can we do for these kids? What can we do for these families? And what information are they missing? And so I think sharing that and building that rapport and really making them see that you are human and you're there to help, and that this is something that you want them to learn from as much as you had to learn from it too. These were just my thoughts on this week's lesson. I hope that everybody had a great week, and I look forward to listening to everybody else's teaching interactions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And again, my name is Meghan Easdon, formerly Serna, and thank you for watching my broadcast.